Hello and welcome to this webinar on boosting digital transformation with a low-code approach in collaboration with Nuxeo. My name is Aaron Hurst. I'm a reporter on Information Age. Just before we get started, if you have any questions, please submit them into the Q&A box. While the pandemic puts pressure on many companies' ability to function, organizations with fully digitized processes supported by on-demand, anywhere access to whatever information or content people needed, were able to spin out new use cases for that content on the fly. Until now, the process of developing applications has taken too long, which has hampered speed to market with transformational new services and user experiences. A more agile approach is needed to help companies to make more opportune use of their richest information and multimedia assets, and a low-code content services development platform makes that possible. In this webinar, you'll learn how a low-code approach allows IT teams to make smarter and more efficient use of their time and skills, accelerating the delivery of new functionality, companies to take advantage of to take critical market advantage, shortening the gap between idea and launch, the use of AI even for non-technical users, and companies to derive maximum value from content efficiently and at speed. With that all being said, I'd like to hand over to our speaker, Sean Baird.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending upon when you're joining us. The topic for today, as described, is boosting digital transformation with a low-code approach to content management. So we're going to talk a little bit during this session about, what digital transformation is, get a grounding there. We'll talk about some of the challenges that organizations are having with content management, and we'll propose a new approach using artificial intelligence, machine learning, and a low-code approach that really provides the agility that organizations need to successfully deploy content-centric applications. So let's dive right in. What are we talking about when we talk about digital transformation? And pretty simply, what digital transformation is taking digital technologies, applying them to your business to allow your business to transform in new and digital ways that help transform your business, make it more profitable, make it better positioned to take advantage of new market opportunities, and more than anything, allow it to be successful in the ongoing changes that are taking place in our economies, in the markets that you're competing in, and against your other competitors. So looking at each one of these columns individually, what kind of digital technologies are we talking about? Well, certainly the cloud is one of the aspects of this, being able to take advantage of the flexibility that cloud infrastructure provides, being able to take advantage of some of the new technologies that are available on cloud platforms, and also be able to take advantage of the scalability that the cloud can provide in allowing you to scale to meet global requirements, to be able to meet market demand, and so forth. Now, in terms of your business, what kind of aspects of your business are we talking about? Certainly one key aspect is around business processes, being able to digitize those business processes in ways that help you to take advantage of really extreme automation, being able to automate as much as you can to take away the manual steps and allow your business to really fly in this new age. A couple other areas that are really important, though, one is around culture, making sure your business is culturally ready for a shift to a more digital approach. It's going to mean a little bit less manual input. It's going to mean that you have technologies that really help to enable your workers to be more productive and more efficient. And the final area is really around customer experience. And this is really important. I mean, this is an area where, we see companies really striving to have strong digital transformation initiatives so that they can better serve their customers, so that they can better protect their business from competition, which might be trying to do a superior job with customer experience. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is build a system that allows you to very rapidly adjust and meet changing business conditions, whether those are regulatory changes that are enforced by governments or by industry groups, or whether it's by market disruption. that's taking place, whether that's from the customer side or in many cases it's from upstart competitors that are really disrupting the market with new technologies. Having a digital transformation strategy in place, taking advantage of some of these new tools that we'll talk about during this webinar, really position you to best compete against those types of disruptions going forward. So when we think about content management's role in this, really what we see is that content management can provide a key role in being able to digitize all the content that you have within your organization. But when we talk to customers and when we think about how they're adjusting to these digital transformations efforts, we find that after 20 years of implementing content management systems, a lot of things haven't changed. You look at many legacy enterprise content management systems. We can kind of go through these bullet points and evaluate how is ECM done against those. Have we been able to organize and manage your information? I think we can probably say that that's been very successfully achieved. That we've moved from an age of filing cabinets and offsite storage to having information digitally available in content management systems within your organization. So we've kind of checked the box on that one. There are some issues, and we'll talk about them, but that one I think we can say has been pretty well achieved. Have we been able to automate your content-centric processes? Well, yes and no. I mean, I think we see organizations that have been very successful in being able to leverage those digital contents to have content management processes that allow you to have content-centric information that's driving key business processes. But in terms of the flexibility of those processes to be able to adjust to changing market conditions, or in being able to really optimize a business, I think the jury's out on whether that's been totally successful. Another is whether you're really able to gain any new insight from that content. I would say that's also, really questionable. And maybe in some cases there's been some things that corporations have been able to identify as they digitize their content, but I think it's a real mixed bag. And I think a lot of organizations are disappointed that they haven't gotten more out of it. And then kind of the final bullet point here is around, the ability to accelerate cloud adoption. And I think that's one where we see legacy platforms really falling short. Sure, they can get you onto cloud platforms. You can deploy there instead of on-premises hardware. But, in terms of being able to take real advantage of the cloud, I think that's an area where we can say that, really I think there's kind of a failing grade there from legacy ECM systems. And we have statistics to back that up. There's been a recent study of financial services companies, and 80% of them said they didn't have integrated systems. And you can see there in the bottom right a really kind of damning statistic as I look at it, that organizations on average have 9 different enterprise content management systems that they're using. That means 9 different silos of information. Those silos are very rarely integrated with one another. In fact, I think you see that these are really areas that organizations are seeing as a weak spot to enterprise content management, is that, while they deployed it and they deployed it against different parts of their businesses, they don't talk to one another, they're not fully connected. So as a result, organizations, and you can see this in the top right, employees spend on average almost an hour of their day just searching for information because they don't know where to look for it. They think it should be in one system, but it actually is in a different silo, and they have no visibility across those different silos. So we see some real weaknesses in the way corporations are using enterprise content management, especially as they start to look at it in the context of digital transformation. So it's really time for a new approach. And let's look at some of the requirements that we see for modern enterprise content management, ones that we think really would be valuable for all organizations to really think about as they evaluate their ECM needs. The first one is that they certainly want to support digital form factors. As I said, a lot of that is pretty well covered with a lot of today's mainstream systems, but there are certainly weaknesses. Many of these content management systems are very well positioned to handle things like Microsoft Office documents or Google Docs. We see them being able to store PDF documents, scan documents where they're either doing backfile conversion of paper documents, or maybe they're scanning incoming documents that are coming in. Certainly great support for that. And, increasingly they're able to do some kind of support for more multimedia files, whether that's photographs, images, or even video or audio files. But there's limited support there, and I think that's an area where we're seeing increased requirements from organizations to be able to support those types of multimedia formats. So you want to make sure that you've got a system that's really content aware, especially around those multimedia formats that are going to be increasingly important to you. Second area is around bridging information silos. We mentioned earlier, corporations have on average up to 9 different systems, and even if you're implementing a new system that you see as kind of the future of your organization, it's unlikely you're going to turn all those 9 systems off immediately. So you need to have a system that allows you to federate those silos together in a way that allows you to quickly find information regardless of which repository that information is stored in. You want to be able to deliver insight and intelligence from the content. So you need a system that has the ability to understand what that content is, understand the relationships between different pieces of information, so that when you ask for a certain piece of information, you're getting not just that one document, but you're getting context around it to allow you to discover those insights or to gain new intelligence from that information. We mentioned new content types. I think that's remains very important, and again, multimedia is a key area of that. Going down to the bottom row, governance and security, I think, are extremely important aspects. Governance is not going away. Governments are continually changing industry regulations, and so there's going to be a continued emphasis on that. And security is increasingly important, especially around privacy and protecting your customer information, against attacks from outside or against leakages within your organization. You want to find a system that really allows you to get to the cloud rapidly, and that doesn't provide any obstacles to being able to do that. As I mentioned, I think a lot of legacy systems are providing a way to get onto the cloud, but are they doing it in a rapid way? Are they doing it in a way that really allows you to take full advantage? That's much more of a question. And part of that is being able to take advantage of the cloud's ability to scale and allow you to operate at extreme scalability. So we see organizations, as you think about the amount of content that companies are dealing with, an interesting statistic that I recently heard is that content is doubling every 2 years within organizations. So they need to anticipate that 2 years, 4 years, 6 years out, they're going to need 4, 6, 8, 16 times as much capacity as they have today, and they need that system to perform it. They still need it to provide all of the other capabilities, including security and governance, to make it successful. And this last point is really easy, and I think it's going to kind of take us to the rest of this discussion. But you need to make it something that's very agile, something that you can get up and running very quickly, something that you can make adjustments to as your market conditions change, as new business opportunities become available. You need to have the ability to attack those and make it easy to develop new apps or to make changes to your existing apps to take advantage of those new opportunities. If we look at legacy ECM systems, they're often single repository. In many cases, they're combinations of suites. We see a lot of this with legacy ECM vendors. They've done a lot of acquisition to build up an entire suite of capabilities. They maybe acquired a document capture company, retired a company around records management, maybe they bought some search capabilities, maybe they bought some additional capabilities around web content management or multimedia files to be able to support that. And so you end up with a suite of products that are fit together. They have integration points, but they're all different. They require different knowledge to be able to execute, to be able to develop or to integrate new different capabilities within their system. That increases your cost. It makes it more difficult for you to really build solutions. They also often have pre-cloud architectures. Now, let's be clear. We're not saying that they can't move on to the cloud. Many of these organizations have provided capabilities to be able to implement their systems on cloud infrastructure. But that doesn't mean that they're really taking advantage of the cloud. It doesn't mean that they have the ability to scale up and down and move all your costs into your operating expenses as opposed to your upfront investment and capital. And I think there's some real limitations there that prevent companies from really taking full advantage of the cloud. We mentioned how difficult it can be to develop in these platforms because of the different products that are being integrated, or because they're just using techniques that are a decade or more old in terms of agile programming. And as a result, they end up being very expensive to own and operate, and especially as these platforms become more legacy platforms for these organizations, we're not seeing the level of innovation, the investment in innovation, the return on the maintenance dollars that you're paying for these systems. So I think that's something that it'd be smart for many organizations to take a look at that and see whether those are platforms that really provide good long-term capabilities for the organization. Now, content services is different. Now, content services is kind of the next generation of enterprise content management, and what it's doing is saying instead of looking at an entire platform or suite of products that all layer together and need to be fully utilized and tightly integrated to work, content services allow you to break that up and use individual microservices that you need to be able to very quickly integrate those capabilities together into a business solution. Content services often take a multi-repository approach, being able to federate around different systems, to allow you to transition from the systems you have been using over the past decade or more into future platforms, and without having to do any kind of major flip to be able to take advantage of those capabilities. You can integrate those legacy platform capabilities into your future applications. They provide a singular platform, again, microservices that can be tied together, and they can provide a whole breadth of capabilities without having to learn different paradigms or different configurations to be able to deploy them. Most cloud platform systems now are cloud native. They were born in the cloud, they are built for the cloud, and they take advantage of cloud architectures in ways that legacy platforms just can't. So for example, when you're deploying most legacy ECM systems to the cloud, you really have to build capacity into that around your peak usage. And if that peak changes over time, it really requires a new deployment, new compute capabilities, new storage capabilities. You need to make sure that all the services are allocated into that single Docker image that gets implemented into a cloud system. Cloud native systems approach this differently and have the ability to scale up and down, add new services to be able to support new requirements, to scale up, but they also allow you to scale down. So if you have seasonal peaks and valleys, if you have dips in certain parts of your business that you want to scale down the amount of compute or storage or search capabilities you have around a specific application, you can adjust the gauges on that in a much more fine-tuned way that really allows you to optimize your costs and your usage of the cloud platform. They have low-code tooling. We'll talk more about that. That's an important capability. And again, they really allow you to consume your cloud platforms in a very efficient way. So you see, putting these capabilities side by side, you can see there's some really clear advantages for content services as it compares against your legacy ECM system. And this modern cloud-native content service platform really offers a brand new approach for organizations, and I think one that's certainly worth looking at. Now, let's talk a little bit about enterprise content and some of the advantages that takes place. So first of all, let's define what we mean by information. So information is really the combination of data and content. And in many cases, data is very well handled by organizations. They have relational business systems that have data points, rows and columns and tables that allow them to manage all their customer information, their sales data, their inventories, and so forth. So they have very efficient ways of managing that information. But there's a whole other side of that is around content. These are the business documents that help make your company run. They really are the critical information that is the intellectual property that makes your company special. And I think that's really important to understand. But even as we look at content, there's a lot of data around content that organizations need to be able to extract to help run their business. So they need to have access to those documents, but then you have context for those documents. What is this document? What's in it? Especially when you're talking about multimedia documents like a graphic or a video. You want to be able to understand, what is this video? What is it about? Who's in it? What's important about it? You want that information to be available anywhere at any time. And that's an area where having a federated approach that allows you to bridge the different silos within your organization, having a cloud accessible system so that you can access that information no matter where you are, if you're in the office, if you're out on the road, especially in today's global pandemic. It's really important to have systems that are available anywhere for an organization, but it needs to have strong governance and have strong security around it so that you have assurance that information is not going to leak out, not going to become an issue for the organization. So really what you're doing is you're building an approach that includes data and file storage, again, a number of different kinds, whether it's a legacy ECM system that you're federating into an organization, cloud storage, taking advantage of different types of cloud storage, file sync and share systems. I think those are increasingly common. You want to make sure those are included as part of your content strategy. And you can see here that we have a variety of different systems that allow you to services that allow you to take advantage of enterprise content management capabilities, but do it in a very services way. So you have content delivery, you have case management, you have security, search capabilities, and so forth that can all be leveraged as needed to build a specific business application. And as a result, you can see here how a number of different applications can really be delivered on top of that when you're leveraging these content services. So I'm going to talk about the next topic here, and this is really around artificial intelligence, because I see this as really the area where organizations really take their applications to the next level, really allowing you to take away some of the mundane manual tasks that you're asking your employees to do on a regular basis. Artificial intelligence can take those learnings and observe what's going on with information, how it's being processed, how to identify what's critical within content that's going to help to drive decision making in your cases. Also allow you to find some of the insights that are going to allow you to really perhaps disrupt your own business, maybe take advantage of some new business opportunities, maybe find new opportunities with your customer base, and so forth. So let's talk a little bit more about artificial intelligence. And when we think about AI, there are really two different kinds of AI. There's what we'll kind of consider generic AI, and these are readily available AI systems that are available on cloud platforms and by multiple vendors that really allow you to access a broad set of services and allow you to leverage learnings that are taking place across the world, across the different platforms. I mean, we've all seen, the CAPTCHA dialogues that come up when we're logging into a system that asks us to identify traffic lights or crosswalks or bikes or buses. And things like that help to train AI systems so that they can identify those occurrences within photographs in this case. But the other type of AI, and this is one that's extremely important for organizations, is a business-specific one that understands the context of your business and understands what things you're looking for to help drive your business. It might not be finding buses on streets. It might be being able to identify what kind of make a car is if you're dealing with an auto accident, or who the model is, or what the model is wearing if you're looking at marketing materials around consumer products. Let's talk about these a little bit more detail here. So in terms of generic AI capabilities, see that a lot of this available on public cloud. You can see they can be used to for a lot of great capabilities here. They can OCR and ICR documents, so you can take your scanned documents and be able to extract information from it. They can do sentiment analysis on business documents to understand, maybe in customer correspondence, whether the customer is satisfied or upset or asking questions. They can do translations. They can do transcriptions of video or audio files so that you can actually get the text and maybe do something in an automated fashion with that text. And, they can do some basic facial recognition capabilities. But again, they're not going to have knowledge about your specific employees or the modeling agencies that you're using. They're going to be looking for readily recognizable celebrity faces, commonly understood individuals. So that might have limited value to you. Now, I will say this, these are extremely valuable, and a lot of the customers that that are embarking on AI journeys with Nuxeo are looking at these capabilities as, kind of baseline capabilities to be able to include within their organization. But they also know that they need to have information. So let's take a look, let's compare here in a use case, the difference between what we can get from a generic artificial intelligence system versus what we can get with one that's more specialized. So in this picture of an accident here, we can get some basic information. You can see on the right here that we're extracting information. It's a land vehicle, it's a car, it's parked, perhaps there's a van or a minivan in here. We can see there's a license plate on the back of this car. We might be able to read the digits on that, but that, we've kind of generic information that's being tagged, and we're really just tagging information about these documents. We're not looking for specific information and answering questions. We're just giving you a lot of information about these documents. So it's useful. It helps us find information, but it really lacks kind of the context that we're looking for. Now, if we take a more custom machine learning example here, we can actually extract relevant business information and apply it to the specific questions we have about this document. So in this case, we have specific questions we want to ask about each of the two cars in this accident, and we want to be able to fill in the blanks for those. So some of this is common information that we might be able to extract with the generic AI, but it's not doing it in a business-specific way, where it's answering specific questions, filling in specific fields that allow us to process this information more quickly. And you can see even here we're able to identify an individual, and we might even be able to do facial recognition on a John Smith here to know that he's actually the operator of this car. Now, what we're doing here is applying some really great automation capabilities, because we're able to extract much of this information without requiring any data entry. But what we can also do is use this information to help inform the process that follows this. So if we take a look at the process, what things can we automate during this process? Well, we can automate classification. We can understand what kind of document we're processing and handle that automatically. We can handle exceptions. We can know, when there's issues, so something that's not can't be recognized or is missing from the information that the customer provided us. We can do exception handling, so we can route things to an individual. We can do entity extraction, so we can extract all the relevant information so that when the case management worker is actually evaluating the results of this process, they get all the full information. It can be intelligently routed to the right. Now, that's fine. That's kind of helps to automate some of the baseline capabilities. But what can we do that's really unique insight? And some of this is image processing. We can actually look at those images and maybe understand whether that information is the right image. Maybe that image we've seen that image before. We recognize that image, and we might be able to detect some fraud as a result of that. Maybe the person in that photo isn't our customer; it's somebody else, and that might raise some flags, and we can route that to a different queue to potentially look at fraud situations. We can also look at the damage, and we can compare that against historic pictures of car accidents and compare that and be able to identify whether the damage is meeting the estimate that the customer is submitting. And so we can do some comparison there to identify, again, where there might be exceptions that need to be reviewed by a human, or maybe there's fraud that we need to report to the authorities. And again, we can do much more intelligent routing based on the additional information that's being provided through these AI systems. So we think this really needs to be specific to the business. So at least have a layer of that is very specific to the business, that's trained specifically on your data, that is tailored to get the right insights from that content that you're looking for to help drive your business. So AI that understands your business is going to be crafted specifically for you. It's going to be leveraging your data, not generic data that is being captured by hundreds of other organizations, but data that's specific to your organization, your business models, your markets. An important thing here is it's not only for machine learning experts. One of the things we're going to talk about here, and kind of the whole bow that we want to tie this together, is that you need to make sure this is being done in a way that is that can be easily developed and maintained by you and your organization. So having a low-code approach to this becomes extremely important. And you need to make sure it's understandable and auditable by the business. So, if you're not getting there, first of all, you need to make sure that it is working on a regular basis. So you need to have some audit or view capabilities to make sure that you're able to view the results. But if it's not working, if it's not developing the results you need to make sure that you can understand why. And you have the ability to go in and do new training or make some adjustments to the parameters to be able to get the right results. Again, you just must be able to quickly identify those new insights and help to automate it. Nuxeo kind of powers this digital transformation by really democratizing AI and machine learning technologies. Rapid assembly of those, simple configurations, and agile modifications are really key guidelines. And we do that by providing some really key capabilities. One is templates. So we provide some baseline templates that you can either start with or reuse to help build new applications. And you can create your own templates. So if you have a successful learning that you want to be able to apply in a different context, you can use that as a template and be able to build on those building blocks. So by using those reusable components, right? So you want to speed up the application delivery by reusing existing user interfaces or AI configurations to be able to build new applications. There's a vast library of software assets that are available, both ones that we provide and ones that you and other communities can develop over time to be able to, again, plug and play those rather than having to start from scratch. And by using configuration capabilities rather than complex customization, your low-code really enables that efficiency. So it really is as easy as 1, 2, 3. I mean, what we want to do first here is train the system. Provide it sample images, have it run through it, figure out which things you want to extract from that, link those to different various data fields so that you're extracting the right information and filling in the right questions, filling in the right answers to the questions that you need to answer. So Nuxeo really provides that insight. Insight is our product, and Insight really provides that quality guidance during that training process and allows you to evaluate whether your training is going successfully. But you can also fine-tune it. So AI really is a virtual assistant, and as it learns the specifics of your data, there's reporting that's going to be available that allows you to understand what those results are and provide confidence levels on those various insights so that you understand what's working well, what it's confident about, or what it's finding that is maybe not as a high level of confidence. And it's important, I think, one of the things that's really important when you're embarking on a journey of using artificial intelligence and machine learning is to train and test and train and test. It's really an iterative process that allows you to refine those elements over time so that you can improve the accuracy and more than anything, gain confidence in the results you're getting from your systems. One of the things that we find is that organizations, in many cases, are a little weary of leveraging artificial intelligence as a way to drive automation. So you really need to have confidence in those systems, and you do that by monitoring that AI over time until you achieve that level of confidence. So how do you get there? How do you modernize your systems? How do you move from your legacy systems to more services-based, cloud-native systems, leverage some of these new technologies? How do you get there? And I think it takes kind of a multi-step approach here. So the first is really to, as you build out these new capabilities, is to make sure that you're connecting all of the legacy systems that are causing the problems today. So federate those systems together and start to think about your content services cloud-based approach as a way of marrying all these other capabilities and being able to provide you a new platform upon which you can start building some new applications. So, maybe you don't start by trying to rebuild all of your existing corporate processes. You start by taking advantage of some, maybe high-value ones that you need to modernize, or maybe take advantage of some new business opportunities and some new applications that you you need to develop regardless of which platform you're developing it on. Get those working, integrate the multi-repositories, and that really allows you to get a quick return on your investment. You get quick wins, You're able to prove the value of the new system. You're able to generate some ROI on the investment that you're making. And you're establishing a foundation then to be able to modernize going forward. Once you've done that, and this is something you can do now over time, is you start to consolidate. You can start to reduce your reliance on the legacy system. You can start to maybe turn some of those systems off as you are able to replace those capabilities with new services that are available on your modern platform. And eventually, you're able to get to a single future-proof platform that still leverages all the information that you consolidated within your organization, but it's allowed you to get rid of some of the high maintenance costs, the reliance on premises hardware that you might be dependent upon today. So let's take an example of a use case here. This is a leading European bank, a financial services organization. They were really embarking on trying to modernize their IT structure. They were seeing a lot of disruptive companies entering the market, providing really challenging capabilities. They had a legacy platform that they really were hoping to replace at some point. They were also finding it that they were seeing a number of new document types, and this is again where we see multimedia formats becoming increasingly a part of the system. So, you know, it might be that when you're applying for a loan, you need to provide documents. They're taking pictures of different documents, the driver's license, insurance card, employment papers, whatever information is being submitted. They needed to be able to capture all that information. A lot of that information was coming in through scan images or photographs that they needed to be able to approach. They also, you know, from a migration perspective, took the approach that we talked about earlier, two-step migration, where they were kind of consolidating their existing systems and focusing on some high-value new applications that they wanted to focus on. They also limited their focus on a couple of key countries so that they were able to kind of right-size their initial projects to be able to get to successful outcomes, prove the system before they expanded beyond that. Ultimately, what they're looking for is having a global platform as a service that provided a single source of the truth that allowed them to quickly deploy in new countries. They wanted to federate, as I mentioned, a lot of their legacy information, but they wanted to create a global discipline for managing all these different document types. So eventually they were able to expand out beyond the initial two countries. They were able to expand out beyond the initial applications that they're providing, and they're able to now start decreasing their reliance on their older systems. They're getting better customer experience. They've been able to streamline the exchange of information between the company and their customers. They've been able to get new products to market much faster. And they're also, and I think this is a really key point here, is they've vastly improved the relationship between the business and the IT groups that are supporting that business, so that there's much greater synchronicity between those two organizations. And IT really understands how they can play a key role in benefiting the overall business. Ultimately, what you want to do here is really unlock real business value within the organization. You want to be able to optimize key business processes so that the organization performs more efficiently, so you have less reliance on really mundane manual tasks, not high-value knowledge worker tasks, but kind of clicking buttons and doing basic validations that or data entry that really is not necessarily the best use of your employees' time. They want to be able to gain new insights from that information. So when AI is able to identify, that this doesn't look like, this looks like it might be a fraudulent claim, or this looks like this information doesn't really match the way we're typically used to getting it, that's where you really see some value. We also see real value when maybe you're able to see that there is something really picking up in one application. AI can really identify that for you through its reporting capabilities. You can see where there's really blips or valleys in your business processes that demand attention, and they allow you to realize that there's some new business opportunity that you weren't taking advantage of beforehand. These new content systems and technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning really allow you to accelerate your journey to the cloud too. And ultimately, that's going to provide advantages from a cost savings perspective and from a business agility perspective. And finally, it really does allow you to digitally transform your business. So, and I think, Nuxeo, with its combination of cloud services capabilities, artificial intelligence and machine learning, really is well positioned to provide that capability for you. And we look forward to continuing the conversation here as you have questions or want to learn a little bit more about what Nuxeo can do for your business. So why don't we stop there and let me open up for some questions and see if we can provide a little bit more clarity on how artificial intelligence, a low-code approach, and content services can really add value for your business. So let me hand it back over to Aaron.
Thank you very much, Sean. That was I'm sure that's very insightful. I believe we do have some questions. Firstly, we have this question. While I'm excited about AI and the possibilities, I'm nervous about putting AI into automated processes. What best practices do you advise to ensure accurate results?
Well, it's a great question. I think I might have touched on it as we went through the presentation, but I think it really is an important process. It's worth a little bit more of a double click on what we mean by that and what can you do to really position yourself to take advantage of artificial intelligence. I think we all have a little bit of a deep-seated fear of relinquishing all capabilities to the machines, right? But really what it requires is that you do sufficient training on the front end, that you provided enough samples of the types of information that you want AI to process, that you've kind of evaluated through the training process how AI has been able to pick up on those things. I think once you get into, once you've done baseline training of it, you really want to either start small or start with proof of concepts and have regular validation as a part of that. So, part of what you need to build into this is how are we going to check on this over time? Because what you don't want to do is turn it on day one and check it after 3 months and find out that you just have you're riddled with, inaccurate processing. You want to, especially in early days, do very regular validation of the results to make sure that you're getting the type of answers that you're expecting. And also, even if you're getting great responses and you're fully confident in the system, it's very useful over time to start injecting new images into the training so that you're building that knowledge. You're building the knowledge that the AI system is using to help make future decisions, because that's only going to further increase your accuracy as you go forward.
All right, great. Yeah, and now the second question we have for you is this. My organization has to deal with extensive government regulations, and our best practices make it difficult to leverage cloud implementations. How do other organizations get past these limitations?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We do see a lot of organizations, especially as they think about, kind of the step one of deploying the new capabilities, is that they can often deploy user experiences, business processes through the cloud, maybe take advantage of some of the document ingestion, the AI services in the cloud, but maybe some of the content remains stored on-premises storage, for example. We see some of this in highly regular organizations, whether that's in banking, financial services, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, and things like that. But increasingly, if you pay close attention to the certifications and the way organizations are storing information in the cloud, you can actually find that cloud systems are increasingly secure. And in some cases, the infrastructure that they provide, the security infrastructure that the big cloud infrastructures, the Googles, the AWSs, and Azures provide, really can provide significant security and might even be able to provide better security than you're providing through your own corporate firewalls. So I think, to some extent you need to evaluate what the reality is versus the perception. Just because it's in the cloud doesn't mean it's not secure. But there are certainly ways to be able to create hybrid cloud experiences where you're still able to protect your content in storage, in an on-premises way while providing access through more cloud user experiences.
Great. And now we have one more. Customer experience is a priority for us, especially in today's pandemic, but we are very concerned about how to manage and validate incoming information. So do you have any examples of how customers have solved this issue?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, in today's conditions around the global pandemic, I think, providing great access to systems becomes, increasingly important. You got employees that are distributed across different countries, different regions. You have customers, obviously, that can't always be physically present at your offices to be able to process some of this information. So providing access through the cloud and through the internet really become essential to allowing your business to function. But you're right, you need to make sure that you have ways to validate that information, how to manage it, and put it into your corporate processes effectively. So I think that's really where we see AI, machine learning, and cloud services or content services really providing great value to organizations. They'll allow you to understand what information is being processed. Sure, you can have manual validation. You can route exceptions to make sure that individuals are validating information. But you can get a long way there by effectively training your systems to be able to understand what kind of information is being brought in. You can build business processes that leverage that and be able to kind of streamline the processing, so you're taking some of those manual steps out of the process. And again, I think having QA involved is really important to make sure that you are validating the information, that you're making sure, especially in the early days, making sure that information is meeting your expectations before you start, giving it a little bit more free rein to make decisions and automate processes on its own.
Thank you very much, Sean. I'd like to thank our viewers for joining us here today, and now I'll hand over to Sean for closing remarks.
Thanks. So again, I think there's some real, I think this is a really optimistic story. I think, while a lot of organizations struggle on their existing legacy platforms, I think there's real possibilities here with cloud services, with new technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning, and with the cloud that really are there to position you to transform yourself, to digitally transform your business, to take advantage of new market opportunities, expanding business, extreme scalability, and more. Certainly invite you to learn a little bit more about what Nuxeo can do. We're a very strong competitor in this whole area here, and I encourage you to read about what analysts like Gartner have said about us, but also to learn a little bit more about what Nuxeo can do to help your business transform itself into a digitally vibrant business that's taking advantage of all the business opportunity in today's markets. Again, I want to thank everybody for your attention, and certainly hope that we have the opportunity to talk soon about how Nuxeo can help provide real value for your organization. Thanks a lot.